Alright, so as you see from the title, I'm going to be talking about my job. I'm not going to be talking about it per se as like where it is and what I do and all that. But what I'm going to talk about is just things about it, I guess. I've done this in the past. I don't know how many videos I've made already on this. It might be 2 or 3 even. So, here we are again. But there's just things I wanted to talk about. A lot of dumb nonsense with my company. So, yeah, let's just get into it. So, anyhow, on one hand, I don't want it to come off sounding the wrong way. I do like my job. I like the location of it in relation to where I live. I know that might sound funny. Not funny, but just stupid. Like, you like your job because of where it's close to where you live? Yeah, because the jobs that I had prior were kind of far. I had one job for 3.5 years that was like 90 minutes away on a good day. There was some days that it would take me 2 hours to get to work. Like, that sucked. And that was one way. Then I'd have to do it to go back home. Another at least hour and a half to ride home. 3.5 hours drive time just for work. That sucked. Yeah, the job was pretty decent. But still, that drive sucked. And that killed my car. It literally killed my car. And that sucked. Like, I always think about it. I'm like, man, if I had a much closer job, I'd still have that car. Like, that was a car that I really liked and I wanted for a while, and I took ridiculously good care of it, and just my super long travel to work killed it. The irony, too, is I was actually considering getting a second car. I was going to get one for work purposes, so then my good car could just sit at home and maybe be like a weekend car, or take it out like, maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so it goes to work 1 day a week, but not all 5 days. And shortly after I started seriously looking into getting a second car, I lost that job. Which, that's besides the point. There's a whole backstory for that. It was bullcrap reasons, but regardless, yeah. So I was like, well, A, I guess I'm not going to be buying a second car now that I don't have a job. And B, I was like, well, depending on where my next job is, I might not even need a second car, because who knows, maybe it'll be closer. Well, it wasn't. My next job I ended up landing 9 months later, after very strongly trying to find a job. I ended up getting a job that was like 45 minutes away. So a step up from what I had. I went from an hour and a half to 45 minutes. I cut the time in half. But still, overall, that's an hour and a half drive time per day to go to work and come back home. Still sucked. So anyways, the job I have now is pretty cool. It's 15 minutes. 15 minutes, basically back road. And so yeah, 30 minutes round trip, half an hour a day. What I used to do in 1 day, I don't even do in a week now. You know what I mean? Half hour times 5. That's what, 2.5 hours a week of driving total to go from home to work? Like I said, there were some days that it was 3.5 hours total 1 day. So, it's awesome. The only thing that would be better is there was a company that I did interview at that's literally like 5 minutes from my home. Probably less than that. I can almost see the business from outside my window, probably. I've never actually tried it, but, I am on a high enough building, and where it's positioned, it's kind of lower, so that gives me like a double advantage. So in theory, if I really tried to look for it, I probably could see it. But anyways, yeah, it's super close to where I live, and maybe, I don't know, but maybe, unfortunately, I didn't get hired there. I say maybe because who knows, maybe it's a sucky job, and it was a blessing in disguise that I didn't get hired. But if I did, then that would have been wicked cool, because I would have been wicked close to home. Oh, the lights went on there. But, yeah, still, what I have is not bad in comparison. And I also like how close it is to where my daughter's mother lives. My daughter's mother is, I think, I've timed it out a few times. I'm pretty sure she is exactly 10 minutes from my job. Like, right on the dot, 10 minutes exactly. And that's pretty cool, too, because, again, when I was working at the faraway company, it would take me an hour and a half just to get back to town, and then I'd still have another 15 minutes, 20 minutes to get to where my daughter lived. So in total, on days that I had her, from work to picking her up, it was like an hour and 50 minutes, which was ridiculous. Now it's 10 minutes down the street, boom, and she's with me, and it's pretty awesome. So yeah, even though that's a really dumb perk, and like that's not what should matter about a job, your pay and your benefits and all that are what should matter. To me, the closeness to home and everything is pretty convenient, especially for now while I have my daughter. Like, when she's older and has her own life going, maybe then I won't care so much how far it is for me personally, but while I have her and stuff, I really like this. The second thing I like about my job is, I do make the most money there that I ever have. Like, that last job that I was driving an hour and a half for, I probably make like $15 more an hour where I'm at now than than what I made there. Actually, no, I almost make $20 more an hour. I never even thought of that before. Yeah, so like I'm doing way better at this job now than I was there. I almost make per week at my job now than I was making bi-weekly at my last job, the one that I thought was good. My bi-weekly job, I think I was pulling like $13.10 bi-weekly or something like that. And this job, I don't really make that much, but it's pretty close, relatively speaking. So, this one is by far way better. Also, a little side thing that I've been trying to do for a long time is get a professional second job. And I do have the professional second job. I've had it for 2 years now. But I feel like because of my schedule and all that I have at my current main job, I'm able to work this second job. If I wasn't with this company, I might not be able to do the side hustle that I have just because my schedule, what it was at my other job and how far it was, it was very difficult. It would have been very difficult to work around a schedule like that to have the second job as well. So the job I have now, it makes that a lot easier. It's a lot easier to bend my schedule as needed. So that's kind of a benefit too. So anyways, point is I can make even more money, because I've always worked 2 jobs my entire adult life. Not because I really want to, it's just I kind of need to. And I've always had a sucky side job though. I worked at Dunkin's or I worked at McDonald's, some dumb worthless minimum wage place. Now I'm working out of college. So I'm making, I practically make in 1 hour at the school what I made in 3 hours or so when I was working at McDonald's and those other worthless places. And I don't have to work weekends anymore, which is pretty awesome. I actually get weekends off. For 3 years straight, I worked every single day between my 2 jobs that I used to have. If I wasn't working at my main job, then I was working at McDonald's or Dunkin's, whichever one I was at. So literally every single day for 3 years straight, I was working at one of my jobs. I think the only day I might have had off in those 3 years was the Christmases, because those places, Dunkin's and McDonald's, were closed, and my regular company was too. But even Thanksgiving I worked. When I worked at Dunkin's or McDonald's, they're at least open in the morning. They might close early, but they're open in the morning, and so I would work the morning shift. So yeah, those days sucked, working every single day for basically nothing too. It's one thing to work a lot and it matters and you're getting somewhere, you're getting overtime or something and you're getting a bigger check, but when you're working every single day and just practically breaking even, that sucks. Like, those days kind of sucked. I didn't really realize it in the moment. I just saw it as it is what it is, but now looking back at it, it's like, oh man, no days off. Like, geez, I look forward to my weekends now. It's cool. I have 2 days off every single week. Something that I went without for 3 years. Ugh. But anyways, so I guess that's another benefit too. I get to have weekends off. I like our product. Our product that we make at my company is kind of goofy because it's women's products. We do a lot of stuff for the cosmetic industry. But I like it for 2 reasons. A, it's cool to go to the store and find the stuff that you make. And, even though it's not something I'm going to buy because I have no use for it, it's still cool. Like, oh, I know what this product is. I know this package. I know exactly what all of this is. I know this part number. I know what went into making this. I know what this material is. I know how much this costs for us to make it. Like, it's just cool. So I like that. And since I do engineering, relatively speaking, my engineering job is kind of easy. Not to jinx anything, but, it's a lot of derivative stuff. It's also a lot of safe stuff. It's not like I'm working on submarines or something, you know what I mean? And one thing wrong, it could literally kill somebody, you know what I mean? If a bolt goes out and the submarine falls apart underwater or something, and now you killed all these people that were, 2 miles deep, It's not like that. I'm making containers for makeup. Like, if something's wrong with the container, who cares? Nobody's going to die. If anything, our customer's going to complain, and then I just got to go in and redesign it. And then the tool room just has to either A, modify the current steel, or B, make new steel. Like, it's not that big a deal. Okay, it's a little bit of a time waster and a little bit of a oopsie, but, relatively speaking, everybody's fine, other than maybe a little frustration. Because speaking of that, my example with the submarine, that's actually something that when I was in college, one of my very first professors, he taught you, like, I don't know, fundamentals of engineering or something. And that was a story that he had. He used to have, I don't know, he had a lot of cool jobs, it sounded like, back in the day when he worked, like, in the field instead of being a teacher. And one of them was he made submarines. And I guess one of the subs that he worked on, I don't remember if he was, like, the project lead or what the situation was, or if he was just one of the guys on the team. But one of the subs that he made ended up failing. One of the windows ended up blowing out, and obviously the crew that was on board all died. I mean, they're underwater and the thing flooded, and yeah. So then it became obviously a big investigation, and there was legal proceedings as well, because essentially there was involuntary manslaughter. I mean, all those people underwater that were in that sub that died, it was essentially a case of involuntary manslaughter. There's those families that you have to contend with as well and all that. So anyways, the guy, my teacher said, like, those days were very stressful because, like, he was there was, like, some proceedings going on to, like, how do I phrase this? Like, he was basically on house arrest. He wasn't in trouble yet because, you're innocent until proven guilty, but he was on house arrest for the time being just because he was obviously a suspect. He worked on building the submarine, and there was court proceedings and stuff. He had to go to court all the time, and he says, man, I was just such a nervous wreck. I was thinking I'm going to go to jail. Like, my life is over. Like, this is when he was young, too. He was my teacher. He's probably in his late 60s, ready to retire. This story was from, like, when he was 30 or something. So, he was still young. He had his whole life ahead of him. And he was like, man, I was just nervous every day. Just a ball of nerves. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't anything. And eventually what ended up coming of it was the investigation found that something that they bought, they didn't do anything wrong. The design team was in the clear. They didn't do anything wrong. But what they ended up finding out was that something that they purchased didn't meet the specs that the manufacturer claimed it should have had. So it was either like the windshield that was installed, in theory, was the correct windshield. The design team chose the right windshield for the pressures at the depth that submarine was at and such. But the manufacturer didn't actually have that windshield to the specs that it should have been at. It wasn't tempered properly or whatever, which caused it to give out. It was either that or it was the bolts. One of the bolts or nuts didn't have the right specifications as it was listed as, and so it caused one of them to strip out, and then when that one stripped out, then the rest took on more of the load. And then so that caused another one to strip out. And then as they stripped out, they just kind of, domino effect failed because it was more and more stress on the other bolts until you got to none. And then the whole thing just failed. So anyways, yeah, his team was able to get off the hook because it was found that they didn't do anything wrong. They ordered everything as they expected. It's just the manufacturers didn't provide the materials as expected, as, specified. So yeah, and he was like, man, it was such a huge sigh of relief. He's like, I mean, on the other hand, I know that there was other people now that were going to be going to jail or whatever, having, being prosecuted. And he's like, I felt for them because I know what I was going through. But he's like, for me, though, it was just such a big wave off my chest. I think at the time, too, like, his kids were young. So, he was like, at least I didn't have to worry about, them growing up, seeing me in jail. So anyways, yeah. Back to what I was saying, at least my job, I don't have to worry about that. I make very safe products. Nothing bad's really going to happen, at least not at that level. I have to worry about going to jail or something, at worst, at the very worst, what would happen to me is I'd just get fired. Like, okay, that sucks, but what's worse, going to jail for involuntary manslaughter or you lost your job? I'll choose losing my job and not going to jail. So, but anyways, so that's another thing that I like about it. I also like, I don't know how to phrase this. I guess I like my co-workers for the most part. Yeah, there's a few that I don't really talk to, so I can't say I don't like them. But everybody that I do talk to, or everybody that I have to at least interact with, which is why I talk to them, I don't have any problems with anyone. At worst, there's just one person that I'm just like, ugh. Or maybe two that I'm kind of like, ugh. But it's not even a situation that I don't like them. It's just they're kind of annoying when it comes to work stuff. Like, they always want to come see me and ask me about dumb stuff, and I'm just like, leave me alone. But themselves, I don't feel like I have a problem with. Like, sometimes when they actually talk to me normal, they seem cool enough. Like, maybe we could hang out outside of work and it would be okay. I probably wouldn't want to hang out with them. But, if we did, it's not like I would totally hate it. I just don't really like them as a coworker. But, you know what I mean? So, but otherwise, yeah, no real tensions. And that's good, too, to not have any, like, weird about these people. Or maybe not even weird against anyone. But there's no, like, weird awkwardness, like, I don't really talk to half the people I work with. Like, yeah, like I said, there's a few that I don't know, but it's just a few. Otherwise, I know everybody that I work with. So, and for the most part, the few that I don't know, it's because they're new. And I'm just like, I don't have time to learn who you are. I don't really need to interact with you, so why bother? I mean, no disrespect to them, but, they got their job to do. I got my job to do. I don't have time to stand around talking to random people that might quit in a month, because that's kind of like our company. It's a revolving door in the plant. We hire new people just as fast as we lose current people. So anyways, yeah, I like that. And another thing I like that was pretty cool is my company so the owners of my company, or I should say owner of my company, is a big car guy, and he has a ridiculous amount of vehicles. I mean, he buys a new one like every 2 months. Almost quite literally. And so, yeah, he's got a retarded amount of cars, and it's like as soon as something gets like old to him and he's kind of bored with it, he just turns it into a company vehicle. So our company has like 5-6 company vehicles because those are the ones he's bored with. And so anyways, recently I had car trouble, and I was able to borrow one of those 6 company vehicles for a week, which was pretty cool. Granted, he let me borrow the biggest piece of crap that he had. I don't really understand why. I felt like that was kind of, I don't know, not rude, but I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. Like, almost insulting. Like, what the heck? What do you think? I'm a terrible driver or something? Like, what happened was way out of my control. It just happened. It's not like I got into an accident or something. Something just decided to give. I mean, my car's pushing 200,000 miles. That's going to happen, But anyways, yeah, it just felt a little insulting. Especially considering that somebody else borrowed a vehicle recently as well, and he gave them a nice one. And I was like, well, what the heck? Why? That person's new, too. They've only been at the company for like 8 months. I'm like, why do they get a nice car? And I get this beat-up piece of crap. I mean, he knows it's a beat-up piece of crap, too, because like he kind of giggled when he gave it to me, when he was talking about it. I'm like, well, what the... Rude. But at the same time, I'm like, well, whatever. I mean, it's definitely better than nothing. Yeah, it ain't sexy, but it's way better than nothing, so I'll take it. At least I can still do what I gotta do and get my kid and get to work and stuff, not have to, like, call out for a whole week or whatever. I can still, function. So, whatever. I also have my little side trash hustle that I do, so having a vehicle helps so I could still pick up my trash. But anyways, so there's a few good things I like, but there are some things, a lot of things, sort of, that I don't like. And it puts me in a weird situation, because, like, lately, by lately I mean for, like, the past year and 2 months now, probably since, like, February last year, February 2024, just in case whenever you're listening to this, I've been thinking about leaving my company for other ones because of the reasons that I'm going to say. Like, for example, one reason is I know that I am severely underpaid at my company. I know I am. Severely. I mean, I'm probably underpaid by like $50,000 a year. Now, I know on one hand I said I make the most money that I've ever made, and I do. for me personally, I do make the most money that I've ever made. But in terms of what I do, what my job title is, my years of experience, all that, I am significantly underpaid. And I know this because I've done a lot of research. This isn't just me thinking it, whatever. I've done a lot of research. And yeah, that's what the data comes back as. I've also talked to other people in a similar field to me, and they make way more than I do, and I'm just like, ugh. And it really makes me want to leave, because I'm like, sure, there's things I like about my company, but at the end of the day, $50,000 more a year is kind of, relatively speaking, life-changing. You know what I mean? For my situation where I'm at now, I'm doing okay enough. I'm not doing great, but, I'm doing okay enough. But if I was making $50,000 more a year, I'd be doing pretty good. I wouldn't need to work 2 jobs anymore, so that would enhance my life. I'd be able to enjoy my evenings instead of working until 9 o'clock at night. I'd be able to enjoy my evenings. I could possibly have time to finally start exercising and stuff, so then I could not only lose weight, but just get in better shape. Have better stamina and lung capacity and all this. And also the extra money could just make life easier. Paying the mortgage would become that much easier. If something breaks down, it's that much less to worry about. Whatever, this sucks, but I can handle it. How much is it going to cost? $3,000, no big deal. Versus right now, oh God, $3,000? I guess I'm going to have to save up for the next 4 months. I don't want to live like that. That's not what I went to college for. I didn't go to college so I could struggle. If I wanted to struggle, I wouldn't have gone to college. I would have just got any old job and been like, whatever, what do you expect? I put no effort into myself, so of course I'm going to have a hard life. No, I went to college and got 3 degrees, and I'm like, well, what the F? Why am I struggling? But I don't have to. I could be making $50,000 more. And that's minimum. There's one place that I was talking to that basically said I could start making $50,000 more a year than I do now, and after 5 years or so, I'd most likely be making $100,000 more a year than I am now. And it's just like, what the F? I've been with my company now for over 5 years, and I'm like, if I was with that company, I'd be making $100,000 more a year than I am now. Oh, that would be huge. My life would be easy. I'd have so much money, especially compared to how I'm living now. That's more than double my pay. Ugh, that's like all my bills paid in 1 week's pay, and then the other 3 are just dick around money. And then you can compound it. Not only is that dick around money, but then you can compound it. I could buy a rental property. Boom, now I own 2 properties. One's a rental unit. I'm making more money, and I'm saving up. Then I buy another rental unit, and then boom, all of a sudden I have my own little real estate empire going. All because I make $100,000 more a year. You know what I mean? It compounds, and it's just makes your life so much better and easier. And then it also helps with the kids when it's their future. My nephew, my daughter. They wouldn't really have to worry about a job because I could just have them either work for me, be the property manager. Hey, okay, yeah, I'll hire you. I'll pay you, whatever. I don't know. I probably wouldn't pay him a ton. I'm not saying I'll make him be broke either. I'll give him $65,000 a year and be my property manager. Depending on how many units I had, this one handles those properties, you handle these properties. And by being property manager, that means, you mow, you shovel, you make sure the place is iced when needed. You do the, let's say, biannual inspections. You handle getting repairs done and stuff when that needs to be done. Obviously, I would have to pay for it, but you handle dealing with calling up a mechanic or whatever to come fix something, etc. And then it's just easy for me. Now, A, they have jobs. I'm paying them $65,000 a year. And B, now I have these rental properties, and it's just simple for me. I'm doing nothing, just pulling in some money. Oh, that's another thing, too. They could be in charge of collecting the rents. And, but I don't know. Like I say, I don't pull the trigger yet because I don't know. Because some of these jobs that could pay me a lot more, they're a lot further. Like, one of them, I think, is like another 45-minute ride to an hour ride. And I'm like, do I really want to do that again? I mean, I guess for the money, it would be a lot better than the last one I had. Way better. But still, I'm like, I don't want to do that. And then all that's going to do is run down my car. Like I said, my car's getting tired. It's pushing 200,000 miles. If I start working an hour away, that's just going to ramp that up, just like my last car. And then before you know it, my car's dead. And then what? Cool, I got a job making, $150,000 a year or whatever, but now I have no car, so how do I get to work? I mean, hopefully I'd have some money saved up so I could get another one, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like, it potentially makes more problems that I don't need. Like, in theory, I don't have car problems because I'm not really traveling, but if I was traveling wicked far every day, then I could have an increased chance of having car problems, And I don't want to deal with that. So that kind of holds me back. I also don't want to start over anymore. I've started over quite a few times, and that's what you're supposed to do when you're younger. But now, it's not that I'm not young, relatively speaking, but, I'm getting older. I'm getting to be the over the hill age. And I don't want to start over again. I just want to be where I'm at and just be established and call it a day. I don't want to start over again. I don't know. So anyways, though, that's one thing I don't like, is that I know that I'm severely underpaid, and I just don't know what to do about it. The next thing that I don't like about my company is I don't like how the scheduling absolutely sucks. Now, I don't know anything about how scheduling works. I don't know if we have a system that helps spit out what the scheduling should be, or rough ideas of what the scheduling could be, or what. I know we do have a couple of systems, so like I said, I don't know if one of them handles that, or if our scheduler just kind of free balls it and says, we could probably do this in X amount of time, and we could probably get this done by this date. I don't know. But all I do know is a lot of times the scheduling sucks. It's like the scheduler makes the schedule way too tight, and so it just makes it very impractical. It's like this project that we just had. He scheduled it out to be 4 weeks. And then, of course, there's not enough time for that. So now it becomes all of our problem. What it was we even had a meeting. We had to make new tooling. And the tool room guy said, 4 weeks for my part. Then the tools have to go out and get heat treated. They have to get stone polished, engraved, plated. So at least another 2 weeks there. So in total, we're probably looking at a minimum of 6 weeks. So maybe say 7 to be safe. But because he said, I can do my part in 4 weeks, that's what the scheduler ran with. Said 4 weeks, and now all of a sudden, we had to be on, it became our problem. My problem. The tool room's problem. All of our problem to make this happen. And it's just like, this is ridiculous. We're making everybody jump through hoops. You're riding me and him, the guy in the tool room, to try to ride all these other people to make this happen. And at the end of the day, it's all because our scheduler is an idiot and did a terrible schedule. Why do we have to do this? If anybody should be jumping through hoops, it should be him. He made the stupid schedule. He didn't listen when we told him at least 6 weeks minimum. He went with the 4 weeks because that's what he heard first. Okay, 4 weeks, duh. And now we all got to jump through hoops to make it happen when nobody said that was a reasonable time frame. And it's just ridiculous and annoying. And like I said, we all end up having to jump through hoops. Was he jumping through hoops? Nope. He was part of the people bugging us. Hey, have you called the heat treaters? Hey, have you been in touch with the plater? Hey, have you? We're in this mess because of you. Have you put any effort in? Have you called anybody? Or are you just riding us to try to cover for your screw up? And it's annoying because this isn't like a one-off. It's one thing that happens here and there. It's like, okay, mistakes happen. It's annoying, but whatever. We can work as a team to help you out. No, this happens all the time. Orders are always placed with such a ridiculously tight time frame. And then it's like, we have to make it happen. Why? Why do we have to make it happen? The scheduler screwed up. He sucks at his job. Why does everyone else have to bend through hoops to make his stupid schedule become a reality so that then he can look good? Why? Why can't he face the music and have to fix the problem himself then? Maybe after a few times of him doing all the hard work to fix his own problem, maybe the problems would stop, because then he wouldn't want to have to keep dealing with it all the time. No, he doesn't care when we're all doing it. It doesn't really affect him. At the end of the day, the schedule still gets met that he made because we all had to jump through hoops to ensure it. So to him, oh yeah, this is doable. Yeah, we did it last time. We did it the time before that. Yeah, do you realize what we had to go through, though, to make it happen, you idiot? No, you don't. Because you didn't participate in that at all. We all had to. While you kind of just sat back and watched as we had it all fall in place for you. And I also don't understand why sales just never gets in touch with the customer. How hard is it to give the customer a call or even an email and be like, hey, you know what? I know we told you 4 weeks. We're unfortunately a little tiny bit behind schedule. We're going to need an extra week, but we can deliver in 5 weeks. We just need that extra week just to give us that buffer. I'm sure the customer would be totally fine with that if you told them we need an extra week. I don't think that, we're like the only place that has terrible scheduling. I'm sure all our customers have perfectly acceptable schedules with plenty of time frame added into them, so they'll be like, yeah, that's fine, you need an extra week. Okay, we've budgeted 3 floater weeks as it is, so now we're down to 2 floaters, whatever. What should just be done anyways is we should try to over schedule. If we say 6 weeks but do 7 just to be safe, then schedule 8 weeks. This way, if we meet 6 weeks, we look fantastic. Hey, guess what? We're actually a little bit early. We got this done 2 weeks earlier than we planned. So we're gonna have those parts out to you next week. And then the customer's like, "Oh, cool, sweet, we're ahead of schedule." And then that looks good for them. Now they built the schedule around us. Now all of a sudden they have a free week. Maybe they can translate that to their customer. Now their customer's happy, and it's just a trickle down effect. And then, even the very last customer that doesn't have any customers, maybe now it gives them an extra week for testing or something. So now they're happy too. They're like, oh, sweet, we got an extra week. Nice. And, everybody's happy. And then it looks good. You look like a hero. Now that customer goes and talks about us to somebody else. Oh, yeah, they're great. They gave us their scheduling, which was pretty fair to begin with. And then they crushed it. They were 2 weeks earlier. It was awesome. Now word of mouth sounds good. We sound like we dominate. Instead of, oh yeah, they barely made the schedule. They barely made their time frame. They told us 4 weeks. They barely did it. No, instead it's, oh man, yeah, 2 weeks early. It was awesome. Never had such great customer service in my life. Nope. Can't ever try to do that route. We have to do it right on the money. What's that? You say you can do it in 4 weeks? Well, I'll schedule 3 weeks then. So annoying. And like I said, it happens all the time. It's not like it's a one-off. It's like a once a week. It's ridiculous. So that's annoying that the scheduling just sucks. I wish we had better scheduling, more intelligent scheduling. Scheduling that was like, instead of one guy just coming up with the schedule like we currently have, it would be much better if we got together as a team and actually talked about things. And everybody that's going to be involved in the project talked about things. And they all said their lead time. And then we could compile all that information and come up with something that's a lot more intelligent and reasonable and realistic. Rather than just one guy being like, yeah, I guess we can do this in 4 weeks. Duh. Based on literally nothing, because majority of the time we don't have meetings about this stuff. He just blindly schedules things. I mean, some stuff it's fine. If it's a well-established part that we've been molding for years, yeah, okay, fine. Go by whatever the trends are, because it's a proven thing that, yeah, we've done this, 48 times in 2 weeks. So I don't see why we couldn't do it in 2 weeks again. But when it's something a little bit newer, we should have a meeting. Like I said, this last project that we had, it required the tool room to build new tools. So it was very new. It's not even newer, it's very new. We can't mold it until he's done. Take that into consideration. So yeah, absolutely hate the terrible scheduling, and I absolutely hate how everyone else, myself included, are the ones that have to pick up the slack when other people screw up. It's annoying and ridiculous. It's not how anywhere else functions. I don't know why this company functions that way. Now, the next thing that's frustrating is I feel like there's a lot of... I'm trying to think how to phrase this, because there's a lot that I can compile together. A lot of useless people. Sounds rude, But there just is. There's a lot of dead weight. And I feel like all this dead weight is just holding the company down. And we could probably be so much better than we are if we didn't have a bunch of idiots, especially idiots in, like, department head positions. Like, for example, we have one guy who is our first shift injection supervisor. And, like, he doesn't... I don't want to say he doesn't know what he's doing. He knows enough to be able to operate a press, but that's about it. Otherwise, when it comes to troubleshooting and this and that, he's got no idea. It's like he has zero experience with this from any other company, and this company, somehow he got hired, and that's where they put him. And he was just like, all right, yeah, I can do it. Otherwise, he's kind of useless. And it's like, that's ridiculous, because now he needs, like, tons of support. You know, there was him and then 2 people supporting him at one point, and it was like, are you serious right now? Like, he should be doing this job by himself. Why does he have 2 supports, 2 assistants, if you will? That's ridiculous. That's just a waste of overhead for all of them. That's a waste of him being the supervisor if he can't even do the position. Like, it's just so dumb. And that's how it is ever. We have another department that we don't even have a supervisor, because the guy that should be the supervisor doesn't want to be the supervisor. So he just is out there basically with the title of supervisor, but doesn't do any of the supervisor work. And instead he treats himself as like a mechanic and just maintains the machines. And it's like, okay, so what's even happening here? Is he being paid for the supervisor position because he technically is, even though he's not doing his job, and we all know he's not? He's made it very clear that he's not being a supervisor at all. Like, what are we doing? That guy's the supervisor, though, quote unquote. Like, if worse came to worse and somebody came in, like, I don't know, OSHA or something, and they wanted to see the supervisor, he'd be the one that would step up and, oh, yeah, that's me, even though he doesn't actually run the, like, it doesn't even make sense. And then you got another guy who, when I started, he was supposed to retire. Me getting hired at my company was kind of like, you know, it was supposed to be the start of the domino effect towards this other guy retiring, because when I came in to take over engineering from the last engineer that they had, who went out to the plant to take over as plant manager for this guy who was supposed to retire. And yet, 5 years later, he's still there as the COO, and it's just like, he's just useless. Not to be mean to him, or about him, or whatever, but he is. He's absolutely useless. First off, he calls himself COO. Do you know what a COO is supposed to do? Okay, it's supposed to do a lot. You're the chief operations officer. You're supposed to be in charge of all the operations of the company. You come up with all the decisions for what's supposed to be done, how, where, when. You know, you are in charge of, you know, getting new equipment if needed and all that. Like, all of it. Chief operations officer. You know what this dickhead does? Nothing. He goes to the stupid morning meeting that they have every day. Then he leaves for like an hour or two. Then he comes back, kind of just hangs out in his office watching TV. Then he goes to the 1 o'clock meeting, and then he goes home. And that's it. That's the COO of our company. A guy who basically does absolutely nothing, and he's most famous for, you know, stirring the pot, as everyone says. He just loves to cause trouble. He loves to give everybody stupid assignments on stuff to do that's pointless. The most pointless, dumb, busy work that he could just do since he's doing nothing else. But no, he loves to assign that to everyone else. And yeah, just useless and just a drag on the company. And I'm sure, because he's been there for like 35 years or something, 40 years, and now he's the COO. So I'm sure he gets paid halfway decently too. And for what? That's just tying up money that could go to other people instead. Give other people boosts to their pay by getting rid of paying him. Or get someone better in there for the position, like me. I mean, I've already put in a bid that when he retires, if they're going to keep the position, I want it. I have ideas. I submitted ideas to them too. I had a list of 9 ideas that I would work on if I was COO. And like real stuff. I would be a real COO, not some doofus sitting in a glorified office with a TV on all day, doing nothing. The other thing he does is he looks at fake numbers too. He looks at numbers that are just absolutely useless, that he pretends have value, again, just to try to like justify his job. Oh yeah, look at these spreadsheets I made. Cool. These are telling us nothing. So nice spreadsheets, dickhole. But yeah, it's annoying. And I guess what makes it even more annoying with these stupid, useless people is because you got all these useless dickheads, and him, the COO, who's really useless, especially when you correlate it to, like, position versus value to the company. He brings, like, no value to the company, yet he's got, like, the third highest position. It's like president, vice president, COO. And it's like, okay, cool. Glad you're wasting that spot. But, you know, it makes me annoyed because on the flip side, like, you got people like me who are super competent and do a lot of stuff. Not only am I chief engineer for my company, but I'm pricing analyst. I also am a QC specialist, not QC out in the plant. I'm QC in the office. So, like, I quality check other departments. I quality check sales. Sometimes I quality check accounting, just to double check that invoices are accurate and stuff like that. A lot of it is with sales, though. I QC sales almost daily. Doing, like, the accounting, the accounting stuff, that's kind of like once in a while here and there. Somebody will come ask me to run a quick audit on them, and I'm like, okay. But yeah, and what else do I do? I feel like I have one other position. I have 4 titles: QC, pricing analyst, chief engineer, and what the F's the other thing I do? I don't know. But still, I do all this stuff, and, you know, and then you got dickheads that are just hanging out doing nothing, being completely useless, or people in the plant that can't even run their department, and that's all they have to do is one department, they can't even run it right. Yeah, I got 4 things that I gotta juggle on my plate on the daily. Like, well, I guess 3, because I'm forgetting what the 4th one is, so it mustn't be something I do all the time, otherwise I'm pretty sure I'd remember it. But yeah, it's annoying. So that's another thing that I, relatively speaking, hate about my company. Just all the useless dead weight. What else is there? I thought there was one more thing that I'm just really sick and tired of about my company. Oh, yeah. Well, this one's kind of silly, but I'm trying to think of how best to describe this as well. So it basically has to do with the owners of the company. Fundamentally, I don't have a problem with them. You know, the president and vice president, well, they're obviously family. It's father-son. And so I don't have an issue with them. They're cool with me. I'm cool with them. No problem at all. I mean, a lot of people don't like them that work there. But for some reason with me, which I'm not trying to jinx anything, I don't need problems with them either. But for some reason, they're cool with me. And I don't understand why. I don't know what I did that's so special that they like me. But I'll take it. Because I know a lot of people they are very rough with, and they just typically aren't with me. So I'm like, hey, you know, whatever I'm doing, I hope I keep doing it so that way then I don't have to get on their bad sides. But I do always think about, like, you know, it's a family company, and so what it is the current president of the company, it's his grandfather that started it. His grandfather put in a lot of work to build the company up. Like, he started out millions of dollars in debt and was able to relatively quickly turn it around and become a multimillionaire. And it's like, it's him that built up a lot of business relationships and built up the company and, you know, expanded and everything. And then it's like, he handed it off to his son, who kind of just rode the coattails. I mean, from what I understand, his plan was to just sell the company off and just let it die, basically. So that's why he never put, you know, the previous president of the company, that's why he never put any effort in, really. And so now we're, like, very behind on what we should have, like, for machines and stuff. We have a lot of small presses. Our biggest press is kind of wussy for today's standards, and it's because the previous president of the company just didn't put any effort in. I mean, he did some stuff. He got robots to help with automation and all that, but never any critical big improvements that are needed. And, you know, they also pride themselves on being like a zero debt company. I'm like, well, that's a cool thing to be able to say. But at the same time, maybe we should try to be in some debt. That way then we can get updated machinery and all that instead of just running archaic stuff. I mean, literally, we have one department that's using machines from the 50s. Literally the 50s. Like, the original owner, the grandfather, he designed these machines. And he took over the company in the 50s. I think it was mid 50s. And he designed and built these things. And yet that's what we're still using. Like, we just have not updated at all in the past 70 years. I mean, the main brain of my company, the main brain, the software that we use, what's the word I'm looking for? Not the circa, the date stamp on it or whatever is from 78. We're using software from 1978. And it's so out of date now that you obviously can't update it. There's no patches. It's lost that from like the early 2000s. So now we have a guy who's like in his 80s who's very professional with this software because I guess he was a programmer when he was working full time. So we have him to come in and help patch things up when there's issues with the software and all that. And it's just like, why the F do we not get with the times? We have a software that we started to work on to implement for the company that would be the company's new brain. And it would be a million times better than what we have now. It was fantastic, awesome software. We paid for it in full too. We got it about 75% of the way there, and then we gave up on it. And from what I understand now, they have no intention on implementing it. They have no intention on putting the other 25% in. And it's just like, what? Like, they paid like $100,000, $120,000 for this software, and just, that's it? You're just going to let it die? So this company made $120,000 for no reason. Because we don't have the software. We're not using it. They were building it up for us before they would implement it, and they got about, like I said, 75, 80% of the way there. So it's like, what even happens in that situation? Did we get a refund, or did they keep the money and we just accept that we have 80% of the software built up that we can't use? Like, I don't know. It's a really weird situation. But yeah, like, that's something though that we should have gone all the way with and implemented. It'd be way better than what we have now. And it obviously has support. It's a current software. But anyways. So yeah, what I am trying to say though is I just feel like it's kind of frustrating because, you know, these people, like I said, the owner of my company, he likes to buy himself a new car. And when I say a new car, he's getting nice cars, obviously. He's not buying like a new Honda Civic or something gay like that. He's getting, you know, new BMWs, new, you know, red-eye Challengers. He's getting old vehicles from the, you know, old muscle car collectibles from the late, you know, early 70s, late 60s that probably cost, you know, $150,000 a car. You know, he has a Ford GT. He has, what else does he have? I think, I've never seen it, but I've heard of it, that he has a Lamborghini. What else? He's got a Saleen. He has, you know, he gets cars like that, fancy, expensive things. And then not only that, but I've also seen his account statement, not his account, but like his 401k, his investment account. He's sitting at like $11.8 million, you know. And from what I also understand, there's a safe in there, and that safe is packed with gold bars. So we all know gold's pretty expensive nowadays, so who knows how much is in that safe in gold. You know, probably a couple million in there. And it's just like, you know, that's cool for them, but like, I look at it and I'm like, you did nothing for this though, and it's kind of frustrating. You know what I mean? His grandfather did all this hard work, and then like his dad rode the coattails, and now he sort of is too. At first he was kind of being innovative and wanted to move forward, but it's like he's given up. I mean, COVID kind of killed that. He was pretty good until COVID, but still, it's like COVID's over, and like we're just not really moving forward now. He's kind of fallen into like how his dad was. We're just, yeah, whatever. We'll just let it ride. Who cares? And it's just frustrating. Like, they have all this money. Like I said, $11.5 million or so in investment. All these ridiculous, super expensive, fancy cars. You know, tons of land, which has properties on it. So he's making rents off that. Just all this. And it's like, he's done nothing for it. He's inherited it from his dad. And it's just, I don't know, kind of frustrating. Because then I look at my situation and everything that I've done to try to better my life. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, he's literally done nothing. And, like, he's got this nice posh life. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so weird. Like, if he's out in public and he seems rich or whatever. I mean, he is. But if somebody sees it, it's like he's rich. And it's like, you know what I mean? He did nothing to be rich. So he just is. It's kind of like the royal family. Like, I always think it's kind of ridiculous with them. Like, they have all their fancy jewels and stuff, and it's like, you just inherited it. You just, I guess, won the lottery to be born into this family, and, like, you're loaded, but it's like you did absolutely nothing for it. Like, who would you really be if you were just a commoner and actually had to work? You wouldn't be rich. Would you still be rich? Would you have that drive? Or, would you just be a normal, average, everyday person? Same as, like, the owner of my company that I work for. What would your life be like if you were just a normal person? Would you still be rich? Or are you just riding the coattails of inheritance? I don't know. And then I think about his son, how his son works there. And it's just like, I think like his son, it's such a joke. Like, his son did go to college for like one semester and then dropped out because it was too much work to have to do homework and stuff. And it was like, man, you literally could have gone and done anything. Your family has all this money. You wouldn't have to worry about student loans at all. You probably could have bought your way into a good college too, even if, you know what I mean? Like, even if he didn't have the grades for it, he could have still bought his way in probably. And he could have done anything. He could have studied accounting. Could have studied to be a lawyer, studied anything. Like, he could have studied something that could have still benefited the company adjacent. You know what I mean? Like accounting. He could have been the company's CFO. It's essentially his money. It'd be a perfect fit for him to be the one that understands how to handle it and stuff. Or, like I said, lawyer. He could have been his own company's lawyer for things. Nope. Instead, just ride the coattails. I'll just work at the company. Hey, I'm the vice president. Do I deserve it? Absolutely not. I'm just some dumb kid. Literally dumb because all I have is a high school education. But yeah, I'm the vice president. Like, I always think of how much of a joke it is too. Like, imagine like our company went out of business and he had to get a job for real somewhere, and say he tried to put on his resume, I was the vice president of this company. It would just be such a joke in a regular company, because they'd be like, say they took it serious and like, wow, you're a vice president, and they hire him, and then they'd just be like, what the F? Like, how the F were you the vice president? Are you sure you were the vice president, or were you like the vice president's assistant? Like, what? Like, he really has no skills. None at all. He doesn't understand how anything functions. He doesn't understand the materials. He doesn't understand how things are done. Sometimes he'll ask a question, and it's like the dumbest question in my perspective. And I'm like, this is this kid's future company when his dad's ready to hand it off to him. And he's seriously asking this right now? Like, shouldn't you know everything about the company? From growing up with it being in your life from your grandfather and now your dad taking over, like, also, shouldn't you have just had an interest just because it's been in your family, and maybe, obviously you work here, so maybe you had an interest all along anyways, and you just never, like, looked into things to understand how your company works? Like, this is a legit question you have right now? But yeah, like, that's just frustrating too, because I look at him, like, he's a kid. I think he's only like 24, 25, somewhere around there, and it's just like, I don't know what he has for money, but obviously he's probably doing way better than I am financially. I know he's got like 3-4 vehicles. I have one. And sometimes he's driving around in like an older Corvette, like a 67 Corvette. And it's just like, this is ridiculous. Like, you did nothing for that. It's basically like a present from your dad, who he did nothing for the money to get this car either. And it's just like, you look like you're doing so much better than a lot of people, and yet there's a lot of people who actually have done a lot more with their lives than you have. You just stumbled on into this. Well, I don't want to go to college. Hey, Daddy, can I get a job? Yeah, sure, I'll make you vice president. Like, it's just ridiculous. And, like, that's one thing, too. Like I said before, when the COO retires, I want to take over because I have ideas and I feel like I could do a great job. But I'm like, it's just annoying because I would actually earn and deserve my position, and I would work hard for it and maintain it and do a great job. And then you'd have, the president and vice president who are above me, who are just two guys who just kind of walked into it, just inherited it. Hey, we did nothing for this. Where me, it's like I've worked hard my entire life between 2 jobs and everything just to have something cool of a position like this, where you guys did nothing and, like, you got higher positions than me. Like, you know what I mean? It's just backwards and makes no sense. But yeah, so that's something that's a little frustrating too. Just, I don't know, especially with the kid, with the With his dad, it's just like, whatever. He's older than me. It doesn't really bother me as much. But the kid, it's just like, you're just some dumb kid. Literally dumb. I have 3 college degrees. You have 0. You have a high school diploma. Like, you're just a dumb kid. And yet, you're my mother effing boss? Like, what? And, like, you're my boss because your dad chose to make you the VP for no reason just because you have the family name. Like, what? It just compounds the ridiculousness of it all. I'm like, it's just like, how are you supposed to be my boss when you don't understand half of what I do? Probably more than half. You couldn't do what I do. You don't understand what I do. How are you supposed to be my boss? You should only be able to be my boss if you could actually do what I do. You know, if you have the power to fire me, then you should be able to fill in for me while you're looking for a replacement. And you couldn't. You couldn't fill in and do what I do. You don't even know how to get started to do what I do. Yet you're my boss? I don't know. And that's the other thing, too. Like, this kid, like I said, he's just the VP. He's the VP now, and he just sits in the office and does nothing. He doesn't even have, like, a real job. He just sits in the office and then pretends he's part of sales and goes out with the VP of sales to go to meet customers and stuff. He'll sit in on calls that we have and talk to the customer and all this. And it's just like, otherwise, he doesn't do anything. At least his dad, back in the day, I don't know about this because this was probably 20 years ago, but his dad, at least, the current president, he did used to work for the company. He did work in the plant. He was the purchasing supervisor for a few years. Like, he actually does have experience in the company. So I guess that's why I don't feel as like about his dad being the president now, because he did at least work a little and understand the company. The kid, nothing. He's fake sales and, the real vice president. And it's funny too, because I think about how, like, not often, but here and there, they'll try to have like meetings and be like, oh, we're going to have you go out in the plant to help in the tool room so then you can understand the tools more and blah, blah, blah. And I think, first off, I don't have time for this. Do you not realize how many jobs I have already to do? I don't have time to come dick around in the plant. Second off, the tool room guy doesn't have time for me dicking around with him either, because that means he has to kind of like supervise me and help me out while I'm struggling to do what I need to do to help him. So that's just stupid. And third off, like, I have a pretty good understanding of how these tools work. I do design the tooling and all. Like, just because I don't make it and put it together, I still have the designs. I had to know how to design it. Like, I don't need to be out here. You know who should be out here? Our VP. He should be out in the tool room on the bench, helping them do mold swaps, cleaning molds. He should be out in the tool room helping them spin, even just roughing out parts. He should be out in the plant helping with shipping, out in the plant helping in, any of the various departments that we have, learning his company more, understanding the ins and outs of it all. He should also be shadowing some departments that he can that don't really require too much understanding, higher education type understanding. Like, what I mean is, he could shadow purchasing, he could shadow HR. Those, you don't need to have a degree for those, at least not at my company. Like, maybe he can't shadow accounting because, that's kind of complicated. He can't shadow me because, again, that's complicated, doing engineering and stuff. But, he can shadow, like I said, HR, purchasing. He could shadow the accounting assistants that we have because their job's relatively easy. They just write checks and stuff. Like, he could shadow, what else? Sales, instead of being fake sales, actually shadow sales and really get into it for real. I mean, he does know some of it, but I feel like he's only done what he wanted to do when he was in sales. Like, do more of it. Do all of sales. Don't just pick and choose. I don't want to do that. You do it. Do all of it. Get your feet in there. It's your company. If anybody should know how to do all this stuff, it should be you. It should be you and your family. It's your company. But yeah, nope. Knows nothing, probably never will, because he figures, I don't need to. I'm just going to work here. This is my family place. I don't have to worry about knowing anything. I just got to know how to inherit the money. Hey, Dad, that $11.5 million, when's it going to be mine? Hey, Dad, when's that safe of gold bricks going to be mine? And again, I sound like I'm hating on them. I'm not. We're cool. I don't really have an issue. I'm just saying, the overall optics are kind of crappy. Anyhow, there could be more things that I don't like, but I've been sitting in my driveway now for about, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, and this is kind of getting stupid. I want to go in. So we're going to end it right here. That's good enough. That's 3 things I don't like, and I think I had 3 things I do like, right? Most money I've ever made, close to home, and, I like the products and people. So, yeah, basically 3 and 3. So good enough. It's an even split, yin-yang, you know? So anyways, thanks for checking this out, or listening to me, whatever I should say. And until next time, I said see ya.